Deftones. This place is death. Guitar tabs and guitar lesson. So even though this is on the Diamond Eyes record, and he's quite likely using his F sharp 8 string, he's really not messing with the low strings. He's just kind of doing like the high strings here, and so basically that's just the say D, G, B, E strings that would be on the the top part of that 8 string. So we can get this all in just a standard tune 6 string, no big deal. The weird thing about this though is that for the most part he's just kind of doing this like drone chord that's just a lot of like B and E, maybe like one note that shifts, and he's just kind of like hanging out here strumming that out, just this high stuff. And the keyboard and the bass are basically kind of doing all the progression work, changing the bass note, and the keyboard, and it may be like a second guitar that's doing this little kind of melody thing in the midst of just that drone chord that's going on. So basically we can just try to combine all that and get all the information we can into like a simple one progression that we can use. So what I ended up with that looking like would be, we're getting the drone chord sounds by hitting the open E and the B, and then just get an extra octave with it there at the 4 on the G. We'll just mute the D string through all this, and then we'll have the low octave, which will kind of act as that bass note that we need to really feel the progression at the 2 of the A here. So we basically just got 3 octaves of B and an open E here. All right, and we're just down strumming that out like. All right, and in the midst of that we can try to get this like keyboard information that comes in there, which basically it's doing like, okay, it's doing a little something like that. All right, so what we'll do is we'll just strum out our 2/4 with the open B and E, give it a handful of strums there, and then we'll just come down and bar that 2 on the high E. All right, and in the midst of that, we can just kind of hit, the rest of the chord that we have there. All right. All right, and then we'll just kind of come back off open with the high E there, and maybe give that a couple strums. Try to focus, emphasizing that those 2 B notes here, the 4G and the open B, because that's kind of part of that little melody. And then just land on 3 of the B. And we can keep that open high E with our same 2 and 4 there. Okay, so we go like this B sus2 to a B5, and then like this minor add 11 thing. Almost just like a B minor, but we got the open high E still. And we're just strumming that out. So we went something like. All right, and essentially we just take exactly what we did there and just bump it up 2 frets. So now we're in this C sharp spot, which will be like a minor 7 to a sharp 7 to the C sharp minor. But it's essentially the same moves that we had going on here. We just do it up here. All right, keeping the same B and E open with it there. Now we got the 4 bass note A, 6 on the G, still muting the D. Strumming that out, and then we'll come down, hit that 4 on the high E, back off, kind of emphasize more of the middle notes, and then just land on 5 of the B, strum that out. And the first time through this, especially in the beginning part of the song here, we just stay in that C sharp spot, strumming it out. Go through it kind of just as we just did, but once we get to the point where we would hit that 5B, instead of hitting that, you want to add with it the 7 on the high E here. Okay, so that's kind of how like the first run through of it goes there. And the second part of this chorus progression, like the main progression going on there, everything stays the same, but instead of staying at that C sharp after we go through it that first time, we move up to now this E, because the bass drops to this E note. So now we're in an E position, and We could just kind of keep it going up to the 7 and try to fiddle around with it there, but I think it's a lot easier if we just zoom up here, hit the open low E, and then we zoom up to 11 on the D, finally use that D string here, and then go 13 G, and we still got our open high E and B there, and we're just kind of muting the A now, so just lightly touching it with one of the fingers there. Alright, so we just strum that out a handful of times, and then we just land on the higher octave of B here at the 12. Maybe come up, hit the bass notes again a couple times, and then just the full chord. And then we strum that out a few times, and then we get a little dissonant thing, a little flat 6 towards the very end of it, where basically we just take that 11 on the D and just make it a 10 now. It's a real faint thing at the very end of it. And this whole second part of the chorus, this is basically the section that repeats once we get towards the end of the song. It just goes right through these from the B, C sharp to E, instead of just hanging out at that C sharp for that extra time. And during the break sections, this is a lot of the keyboard and probably just some guitar ringing out that's really doing the chord information here. But for the most part, it's just kind of doing a G, all right, to an A. But of course, it's all those cool like keyboard sounds. So if you wanted to play a chord or two there, that's pretty much what's going on, a G to an A. And for the second break, kind of starts the same, just in that G vibe. But then the bass will come in and start adding some stuff here. So if we want to try to mimic along with that, we're just basically doing kind of the back end of the main progression. So we do our C sharp, and we could just do like some octaves here, like the 4A, 6G, just strumming that out. And then to our E. And here we can just kind of do maybe a little more convenient spot of it here, where we'll do like the open low E, do a 7A for that little extra octave, do a 9 on the G, just so we get just a big E octave now. And then towards the end of this, we want a little bit of that dissonant flat 6 again, so we could just add in the 10 on the D for the last handful of strums. And at the very end, we get these 3 kind of big dynamic hits that happen, basically kind of like an E5 here, where we'll just do open low E, 7A, and then just like the 7 on the high E. Okay, there's just a D here with the 5 on the A, and just do like the 7 on the B. And then just finish on a B minor.